Today's episode of The Real Deal with Damian Adams is brought to you by Vroom. If you go to shopvroom.com/therealdeal, you can shop for a car online, get it 8% cheaper than the ones on the lot, not deal with all the haggling of the price, and also do it while being comfortable in your drawers. So go to shopvroom.com/therealdeal, get a car for 8% cheaper and free delivery to your driveway. Again, that's shopvroom.com/therealdeal, shopvroom.com/THEREALDEAL. Thank you for listening to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. This is real sports talk for the real sports fan, and I definitely appreciate all you real sports fans who are listening right now. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, thank you. And you can go ahead and give us that 5-star rating, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. That 5-star rating, they'll definitely be appreciated. And if you're listening on a 3-point conversion station where fans' opinions matter, please give us your opinion on the show. If you think the show is great, go ahead and share it with your friends. Let me know that you think it's great. I always appreciate the compliments. And if you think the show can improve, I can use that as well too. I can handle the criticism. Just be constructive. I am a gentle soul. But without your constructive criticism, I can't improve. And I want to be great at this. So please let me know how I can improve and be the best I can be for you. So today I'm very excited because we have a special guest on the phone line with us today. This guy may be the hardest working person in sports media. When I say his fingers may turn to keys one day because he's on the keyboard so much, I'm not lying, because this man is constantly writing, putting out articles, putting out good content, and he's somebody who is like a brother in this sports media because he's somebody who looks out for others. He's always want others to do well and to succeed. So I love having somebody like that on the podcast today, very knowledgeable, and the brother just knows what he's talking about. How you doing today, Mike Patton?
I'm doing great. How you doing today, man?
Doing good, man. In a good mood. You know, got me a great guest on the show today, so I'm very happy about that. And for people who may not know about Mike Patton, can you please give us like a little brief introduction about yourself?
Well, let's see. I'm a former athlete myself that kind of took a bet and ended up being a writer. You know, took a bet from my wife, and that's how I became a writer because she challenged me to write. And ever since then, 8 years ago, been writing and football, basketball, and everything. Just writing everywhere I can.
Now, one of the sites that you write for is your site, The Sports Awakening. Why did you choose that name, The Sports Awakening?
The reason why I chose that name is because I look around, media and everything, and everyone has the same article, but it's just kind of recycled, and everyone kind of takes the same opinion. So to me, I was like, well, let's open up your eyes, which, you know, that's the logo, is a couple of eyes, and let's use your common sense and, you know, look at it from a different perspective as opposed to looking at it from everyone else's perspective. So that's where the Sports Awakening came from. It's kind of, you know, open your eyes and wake up a little bit, follow along with everyone else.
Okay, I definitely like that right there. It's definitely refreshing reading your articles. You can tell you put a lot of thought into it. And like you said, you come from a different perspective. You don't attack it from the same view as everybody else. So I definitely like that when I read your articles. And what is it that motivates you to write so much? Because every day I see a new article from Mike Patton. What is it that keeps you pushing?
Well, honestly, just a place to actually put out my thoughts and things like that. Because, you know, if you keep them cooped up for too long, then, you know, you kind of either forget them or they get jumbled up, or, you know, you get mixed up with the world, and then your thoughts kind of dissipate. So I definitely, that's why I put them out so much. That's why I talk on social media a lot and things like that. That's definitely the reason why.
Now, you also write for a couple of other sites as well, and you got to cover the Super Bowl this year. What site were you covering the Super Bowl for?
I was covering the Super Bowl for Pro Player Insiders, which actually is where I got my start in terms of covering the Titans on a weekly basis. So that's where I was pretty much, that's how I got there. I just was consistent in what I was supposed to be doing every week, and I got that opportunity presented to me.
Now, when you go cover the Super Bowl, Did you know what to expect? Did you have any idea how it would be? What were your thoughts going into that week before you got there?
Well, my thoughts going into the week were like, am I really going here? But other than that, I was like, wow, I really don't know what's going on here. It's going to be interesting. I'm probably going to run into a few different people, which I did. And, good thing was there was a lot of members of the pro player inside his team that actually went to the last Super Bowl in Houston. If that wasn't the case and I was by myself, I might have been in a little trouble. But they helped me maneuver my way around, and once, a couple of days went by, I was pretty comfortable and kind of knew what I was doing at that point.
Now, you say you ran into a lot of people. Was there anybody that you ran into that kind of left you starstruck?
Well, I wouldn't say necessarily starstruck, but I ran into a guy, ran into a couple people. I had a couple stories for you. Open at night, we're getting ready to go out there, the teams are getting introduced, the Patriots are going to get introduced, and then the Eagles. So I'm walking towards the area, and it's the St. Paul, it's the River Center in St. Paul, which, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Twin Cities. I'm walking that way, and you look up, here comes Ryan Clark walking through there, and he's saying, hey, this is where the real people, this is where the people really working at right here. And he sees me, what's up, man? Give me the bro hug. And I'm like, did that really just happen? Did Ryan Clark just give me the bro hug and keep walking? But, yeah, that really happened. So, that was one story. And then I was at the Doug Peterson press conference, I think it was either Wednesday or Thursday. And, I'm looking for a seat to get to sit down and, listen to this press conference, take some notes so I can I'll write an article. I look around, there's a seat available. I'm like, can I sit there? I wasn't paying attention to who I was talking to. And the guy said, yeah, sure. So I kind of, got in a row, sat down, I said, thanks. He said, you're welcome. I was like, that voice sounded familiar. And I just couldn't I couldn't think who it was, and I looked, and it was Ed Werder. I was sitting right by Ed Werder.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Ed Werder's a legend, man. He's somebody who, we've all grown up seeing on ESPN and different platforms doing their thing. And was there something that surprised you from the week of covering the Super Bowl, something that you just didn't expect from being there as part of the media?
Well, one thing I didn't expect was, one thing that a lot of people think in media is that, people that are big-time media, that, they really don't have time for you, and that the smaller guys just basically get passed over. No. When you're in that room and you're part of the Super Bowl media, pretty much everybody is kind to each other. Everybody's trying to help each other. If they have somebody has a question or things like that, no one is just completely rude and dismissive. Of course there was a few, but for the most part, everyone was kind, trying to help each other, point each other in the right directions. When the press conference was, and just to be honest, the press conferences were in the Mall of America. So everything, from press conference, media room, is in Mall of America. So essentially, you had to get directions to a lot of that stuff, especially where the Eagles were. It was almost like a mile away how big that mall was. But yeah, you definitely, definitely everyone worked as a team, trying to point each other to where to go and things like that, which is, you wouldn't think that normally is the case when it comes to big time media and small time guys as well.
And that's great to hear, because sometimes you would think that like the big time media people that we grew up watching wouldn't have time for us. Sometimes you hear those stories about people meeting their heroes, and then it ruins their image of them. So I'm glad that you had the opposite experience of that, meeting everybody, and everybody was cool. Now, when it comes to the actual game, I've always heard that the Super Bowl is weird because there's not really fans of the team there. There's a few people, fans of the teams that can afford tickets, but most of the people are corporate, and it's a weird feeling to the game. Was that the feeling you had watching the game there?
No, I had the feeling that all the Eagles fans bought the tickets, mortgaged their houses, sold their cars, and did whatever they could to get there, because there was boatloads of Eagles fans there all week. And I'm thinking to myself, there probably won't be as many there this week, at the game or whatever. But when you got in the game, every time the Eagles made a play, you could hear how many Eagles fans were in that building. It was definitely a home field advantage at the Super Bowl.
Wow. See, I guess because it's the Eagles and they have such a strong fan base and they've been waiting so long for this moment. Maybe it was a different experience for them because they were there. So that's definitely dope, man. I'm glad that you got the experience of coming to the Super Bowl. And hopefully one day the real deal with Damian Adams could be there too. Now, team.
You know Atlanta next year, right?
Yeah. I know it's in Atlanta next year. Hopefully my man Raphael will definitely, be there. He's already in Atlanta. So hopefully he'll be there with a 3-point conversion and we'll be covering the game next year. Now,
we shall see.
Definitely. And now one of the teams that haven't been in Super Bowl in a while, but they have a illustrious history, is your favorite team, the San Francisco 49ers. And the past few years have been kind of rough, but things are looking up now. You got Jimmy Garoppolo. You guys ended the season on a winning streak. What are your feelings on the 49ers right now?
Well, I'm actually right now, I saw the big contract they gave out to Jimmy Garoppolo, which I understand because, he's wanted on the market. He went 5-0 and things like that. But to me, the mark of a good quarterback is when teams have scouted you and they figured out what your tendencies are, and then you still overcome. That's when I know that Jimmy Garoppolo is the guy, because I don't think enough teams have seen enough of him to say, well, to be able to put together a game plan and be able to to stop him and to limit the things he likes to do. So I'm cautiously optimistic with the team. I mean, the team has deep pockets this offseason, so they could pretty much sign anybody they wanted to. They could afford to sign Jimmy Garoppolo to that deal and still sign maybe 3 or 4 other players because they're that far under the cap. So, definitely look for it to be an exciting time and this team to potentially make a playoff run, perhaps. But, of course, that all falls on Jimmy G and how he does.
Now, you said that you guys have deep pockets. What are the areas that you would like to see the team attack in free agency before the draft?
I would like to say cornerback, definitely. I was a little upset we traded away the young guy, cornerback. His name escapes me right now, but traded him to the New York Jets. I think with that kid, he just needed a little more time and actually a big-time corner away on the other side of him. But definitely, cornerback is a huge, huge thing. Don't have very much pass rush, which need that. You have the kid from Stanford, but I'm not very much sold that he's going to be a huge pass rusher. I know Buckner is going to be a beast in there, but he needs somebody to be play alongside him or be on the opposite side of him as well. So that's 2 huge things, and maybe another wide receiver, but they could probably get that to the draft and still be okay.
Okay. Now let's take a little turn into basketball. You are a big Bulls fan, correct?
Yes, I am.
Now
I put myself through punishment, I know.
Now the Bulls are going through a rough patch. It's rebuilding time. But what do you like about the team right now that you can see they can take into the future?
Well, I like the backcourt when it actually is together, which would be Chris Dunn and Zach LaVine. I thought all along Zach LaVine was a shooting guard, and everybody kept telling me he's a point guard. No, he's not. He is a shooting guard. And finally, he got moved to shooting guard in Chicago, and we're seeing what he can do. So, actually, he was at Minneapolis before he got Minnesota, but to Minneapolis. But he was at before he got hurt last year. But now he gets to play it and be the main option, or one of the main options. So I definitely think that backcourt could be special, and Lauri Markkanen is way better than what I thought he would be. I thought it would take a couple years for him to get going, but he's definitely a little tougher guy than what I thought he would be. So those 3 pieces, I think, are pieces you can build around, and I just wonder what they're going to do next with the next piece to come along with that.
Now, do you believe that Fred Hoiberg can be the guy to take you guys into the future and be successful?
You mean Tim Floyd Jr.? Nah, I'm not sold on him doing that. But he has done well this year with this team. I'll give him that. But I'm just not sold on Tim Floyd Jr.
Now, are you not sold on him because of what happened with Jimmy Butler in the past team? Or is it just his X's and O's? What is it about him that you're not sold on?
I'm not sold on his, the X's doesn't know his work because he has players that more conducive to the system. But, you know, the thing is, you had talented players, but you just kept making it work because you were so stuck into your system. What's going to happen when you have a talented player that wants to come there and play, and you can't, you know, conform anything or build anything around your system to make him the most effective? That's what I have issues with. Because, I mean, you know, Zach LaVine is sitting in the system right now, but there's going to come points in times where he's hot, or he feels a certain type of way out there, and he's the number one option, that you need to figure out ways to get him the ball and things like that. But I wonder, does he have that type of play design in him? I kind of doubt he does.
That's a very good point, because with basketball, you can have your system that you have, but unless you're Greg Popovich or Phil Jackson back in the day, you don't have that system has to conform to the players, not the other way around. And with,
right,
like you said, with him, he's not experienced enough to be like, you should fit in my system. You know, even Greg Popovich has acknowledged that he had to adjust his system to LaMarcus Aldridge and not the other way around. And now we see LaMarcus having a great year with the system being more adjusted to his skill set. So even the great coaches have to adjust sometimes to their players.
Right. And I'm not sure he will, but we'll see.
Now, we had a great time there talking about your favorite teams and your site there. And before we move on, can you tell people where they can follow you and where they can get your writing?
Well, we're going to be here for about 5 minutes. I'm joking. We're not going to be here for 5 minutes. But, you know, you can find me on Twitter at general_MP. I mean, of course, on Facebook, you can actually look me up. I'm at the Sports Awakening. My website actually has a page. As far as with the Titans, you can find me at TitansWire.com, and of course it'll pop up with USA Today. And as far as the Super Pro Player Insiders, you can find that at ProPlayerInsiders.com, which I got to get back over there and get some more work in it. You can definitely find me all those places.
Okay, definitely. You guys should check him out. Very talented writer, somebody who's always working. And when you're working, the talent's going to show. So now, speaking of talented individuals, LeBron James and Kevin Durant, they did an interview with Kerry Champion on Uninterrupted with the Uber driving interview. And during the interview, of course, Donald Trump came up, right? And LeBron James had some choice words about Donald Trump. He's not the biggest fan of Trump. And basically talked about how Trump is somebody who is not qualified for his position and doesn't care about the people. And he didn't say it in such those nice words that I said it in. Now, before we get to what happened after that, the chain reaction, what are your thoughts on athletes today being more vocal on social issues?
I like it. I like it a lot. And, you know, athletes need to be more vocal because, after all, you were once a part of that community. Just because you made money doesn't mean you just you graduated from being out of you know, or dealing with issues that affect many people from your neighborhood. I mean, could affect your cousins, your uncles, your aunts, anybody. So I definitely love that athletes are stepping up and saying a lot more because, you know, back in the day, you know, you had your Bill Russells and your Rudolph Senders, which I call him Rudolph Sender. But you know, you definitely had your players back in the day that definitely you know, spoke up and spoke out. But today's player, you know, it's almost like they care more about their image than they do actually speaking out. But it's definitely good to see it going back to the way it used to be.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that. I think that I wouldn't say that it's the player's responsibility because if there's certain players who may not have that voice, and if you don't have that voice, you don't need to speak out. But you can do other things. You can, you know, build things in the community. You can donate money here and there to make change and not be the voice, or, you know, because maybe you're not able to express yourself like a LeBron James can. But if you have opinions on things and you know that people look up to you, you can make a change with your voice along with, you know, donating money and sending people to college and all that stuff. So I think it's great that players like LeBron James are stepping up and saying how they feel, and that they're making sure that that people know that you can be more than just an athlete. And that's a very big thing because most people are not going to have the skills of NBA players, but if they see an NBA player make a difference in different ways, they can say, okay, I may not be an NBA player, but I can be a doctor and still make a difference the same way they can, just maybe now as a big platform. So I think it's a great thing that he's speaking out and showing an example for people. Now, when he spoke out and said these things about Donald Trump, there was a host on Fox News, Laura Ingraham, who didn't appreciate his words. And she took to her show and said that because he's a basketball player and he didn't get voted to talk about these issues, that him and Kevin Durant should just shut up and dribble. And during the rant, she made fun of Kevin Durant's grammar. She made mistakes saying that LeBron tried to come out of high school early, like that was legal or something. Like, no, he didn't do that. But she definitely showed her ignorance as well when she made these comments. But when you heard her say "shut up and dribble," what did you think about her comments?
Well, I thought it was pretty weak because, honestly, just because someone is an athlete that entertains people doesn't mean that they don't have a voice. Doesn't mean that if they make money doing something else that they automatically should be void of that. That's basically saying that a baseball player, because he swings a bat, he shouldn't be able to talk. That a football player that he gets paid to put pads on shouldn't be able to talk either. Honestly, I think it was more about her hearing an opinion that wasn't close with hers, close to the line with hers. Because I promise if it was an athlete that said something the opposite way, or something that agreed with her, they would probably be sitting at Fox News right now and actually talking about it. And there probably been plenty of athletes that go on Fox News or former athletes that have talked and Fox News has said nothing. I honestly won't even really dignify with saying that woman's name because essentially it almost seems like an attention grab because she tried to get LeBron to come on her show. And honestly, I don't know what for except for to pull attention.
Yeah, no, that's definitely correct. And I was watching Inside the NBA and they were talking about it. And I don't really agree with Charles Barkley on a lot of things. I feel like his outlook on basketball is kind of outdated. But I did agree with what he said about this. He said, when people try to make you mad, why would you get mad if you know that's what they're trying to do? And with this lady that you said, you're not going to mention her name, so I can confirm to that as well. So with her, you know that she was trying to get a reaction. She was trying to get an uproar and get attention. So why even give in to that? And I think LeBron had the perfect response for it because he just said she just showed her ignorance and gave more of attention to what he's saying is really going on and how they really view people. And the crazy thing to me is with her saying that, I know with her being a woman that her timeline is full of sexist comments all the time. Just because she's in a position where her opinion matters and she's on this big platform. So I'm pretty sure she gets the comments on Twitter, Instagram, and all that stuff of shut up and go to the kitchen or make me a plate, stop talking, all this type of stuff that ignorant people say to women. So when she's getting that, how can she turn around and say shut up and dribble? Like, that just boggles my mind because I know she has to receive those comments probably on a daily basis. Just based on the fact that she's a woman, not even based on the fact of what she's saying. Even if we disagree or agree with what she's saying, just on the fact that she's a woman, she's going to get those crazy comments. And the fact that she's going to turn around and spew that same type of disregard to somebody else is crazy. So any group of people, especially if they go through something like that, should know not to put somebody else through that. So that part was crazy to me.
Right.
But I love LeBron's response to it. Oh, go ahead.
So, right, definitely.
Now, LeBron's response to it was great when he said that she has given me more to talk about and more to pay attention to. What did you think about LeBron's response to it?
Well, I liked his response because it was measured. He didn't get all upset. He basically said, thank you for basically giving more attention to what I'm talking about and you making this point for him. So essentially, that's all he said. And basically, he did say, he couldn't recall her name a couple of different times, which I don't know if that was by accident or not. But he really handled it well.
Yeah, man, we right down the same page with that one. So now let's move on to this past weekend. It was All-Star Weekend. You know, it was a good showcase for the NBA. And I feel like they did a really good job. You know, I don't really pay attention to Friday night, you know, because you have the celebrity game and the rookies and sophomores. But Saturday night is my favorite night. You got three-point contests, a dunk contest, it's things I grew up, you know, wishing I could be a part of, and then grew up just watching and enjoying. What were your overall thoughts on Saturday night? Did you think it was a good look for the NBA?
I thought it was okay. I'll be honest, I didn't really watch a whole bunch of it. You know, the dunk contest, you know, you have guys out there emulating what they've seen in the past, which is fine and dandy. But, you know, I like to see something a little fresh and original. I honestly liked Larry Nance Jr.'s performance. I like Mitchell's performance as well. So, you know, it was solid. It just, you know, it isn't anything I'm just gonna be like, okay, well, it was just incredible. You know, no. Saturday night was cool. It just wasn't, you know, incredible to me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I thought it was pretty good. The three-point contest was really good. Devin Booker for the Suns went crazy, had 28. And you know you're doing something when you could beat Klay Thompson by 5 in a shooting contest. So he definitely was out there stroking. And that was, when somebody gets hot in three-point contest, it's very exciting. And for the dunk contest, I thought it was solid, pretty good. And it's not going to be every year like we saw a couple years ago with Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon. Like, that was, you know, a once in a 10-year type of dunk contest where these guys going back and forth getting 50s and doing all this stuff that we hadn't seen before. But I thought this was a really good coming out party for Donovan Mitchell, who's, you know, somebody out there in Utah that a lot of people don't know about, even though he's having a great year and probably has taken over the lead for Rookie of the Year from Ben Simmons. It was a great coming out party for him. I thought Larry Nance did a good job. It was a great moment when he honored his dad and did his dad's dunk in his dad's jersey. That was cool. So I thought it was a pretty good Saturday night. So now let's move on to Sunday. So Sunday's All-Star Game. And before the All-Star Game, they had a lot of lead up to it. You had Kevin Hart and Ron Riggle doing this whole sketch thing. And
oh, boy.
The sketch, for me personally, it just didn't hit. You know, I got the idea of it. You had talented people out there. Jamie Foxx helped with it. Queen Latifah. I forgot the other guy's name. You know, no disrespect to him, but I can't remember his name right now. That helped out with it. But it just didn't hit. And then you had Kevin Hart doing the jokes when he was introducing people. And it just seems like the whole thing was off. Do you feel the same way I felt about the intros?
Man, I was trying to figure out what they were doing out there. And you know, it just seemed pretty off to me. I couldn't get behind really anything they did at all. I was just like, please let this get over with. Please. I like the one in New Orleans, to be honest. That one's still one of the ones I like. Where you have Michael B. Jordan and all those guys out there.
Okay, yeah, I do
that
remember
one.
that. Yeah, that was actually kind of good. Yeah, I do remember that.
Yep. So I like that one more than I liked this one. I just wish just next year. It's in next year. I forgot where it is, but next year I need them to just put the Roots out there, let the Roots perform Black Thought. That's all I need. Just do that. Gotta make it all right.
I like that idea. I like keeping it simple. Just have somebody that you know the people gonna rock with. Keep it simple. Have them rock out for a little bit and then do the introductions a normal way. Kevin Hart is somebody who you kind of depend on to be funny, and they just missed in that moment. It happens. Now, after this, we had Fergie. And
oh boy.
Fergie did the national anthem. And what were your thoughts on the national anthem?
Boy, oh boy. Yeah, she messed with that one. Some people hit and some people miss, and she definitely missed way to the right on this one. Yeah, I thought it was pretty bad. I thought Carl Lewis was probably cheering because people weren't thinking about him as much anymore. So, but yeah, I don't know why she thought that would be appropriate. Well, not appropriate, but I didn't know why she thought that was going to be something to do. You know, because she isn't Marvin Gaye or she isn't any of the others that have made their own versions of the national anthem. You know, R. Kelly comes to mind as well. You know, he kind of made some music classics where you can just look at people on TV, but you can put it on mute. That's definitely what that was. That was a mute music classic right there.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when you caught Draymond Green's reaction. He just had his mouth open and started laughing as the performance was going on. I didn't mind the attempt at being different. I didn't mind that because I felt like the first, I would say, minute of it was okay. Right? She was just going, doing the little thing, the lounge singing thing. And I was like, okay. And then she tried to hit a note. And I think that's where it all went downhill. And I don't feel like she ever got really recovered from it once she missed that first note. And once she missed that first note, then you got some weird sounds. It's not even in the national anthem that came out that people have been remixing now. So she's definitely going to be a meme and a challenge for a good little while now because of that. But I don't mind the attempt at being different. She's an artist, and I appreciate, when artists try something different. But like you said, sometimes you swing and you miss. You can't. I guess you would never know if you don't take the chance. So I'm not gonna get on Fergie too bad. I think she is a better singer than she showed because I've heard records of her before where she can blow a little bit, and I think in this one it just was a bad day at the wrong time.
Yeah, definitely was. Hey, but one thing I can say, hey, at least she didn't forget to leave gum in her mouth like Pink, but Pink still rocked it out though.
Yeah, definitely. Now, after all that, we finally got to the game. We had Team LeBron versus Team Steph. Switched it up this year. And before I even get to the game, what were your thoughts on them switching it up to doing team captains instead of East versus West?
Well, I thought it was an attempt to be different, an attempt to actually raise ratings and kind of mix up the monotony. So I definitely can applaud them for doing that. I will say it didn't necessarily show up in the ratings, but I think they do it probably another year or two. I think it will show up in the ratings. They actually played hard, which definitely was probably preempted by the money, but that it definitely mixed things up, mixed the monotony up.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm glad that they mixed it up and did something new. Only thing I wish they would have aired the actual draft on TV. Like, that's a great moment to have on TV. And I like LeBron's idea. He said next year they should just wait to do it and do it on Saturday night. So if you do the draft on Saturday night, you air it, have people react to who's getting picked. You can do it schoolyard style, have them out there, have them step up when they get picked. And, they're grown men. If you get picked last, it's like, okay, you laugh about it, you joke about it, you move on. It doesn't have to be something that's going to be taken personally. You're still an all-star. You just got picked last out of the 24 best in the world. It's not a big slight against you. So I think they should.
There's only one problem with that.
Okay.
One problem with that, they said do it on Saturday night. See, the thing is, you wouldn't be able to produce the jerseys fast enough. So they would have to do it probably way before then, pick the teams.
Okay, yeah, that's a very good point. You would have to make the jerseys. So I would still like to have it aired. So even if you can't have the players there, you have the two guys who are the captains making the picks, and maybe you have, cameras you could do like, the NFL draft and they have the cameras at the people's houses and stuff like that. You can do it like that if you have an off day, or if you do it like maybe since the All-Star break starts earlier, you can have it maybe that week and still have it to where you can have people air the show and have different cameras showing people's reactions to it. I think that's something that we missed out on this year. But you mentioned that they played hard this year, and it was a great game. I thought it was a really good game. Probably the best All-Star game in quite a while. Like, the last one I really remember being this competitive is the last one with Jordan, when Jordan hit that shot on Sean Marion, but then the other team came back and won the game in overtime. That's the last time I remember the game being really competitive and you really seeing people compete. And hopefully this year leads to more of this. Do you think this will be more of the trend that we'll start seeing these type of games from now on?
We shall definitely see, but I can say that we'll definitely see this trend, especially if the NBA decides to pony up like they did this year. Because, guys don't like missing their money. And they definitely didn't miss very much money. LeBron's team did this game. So I would definitely say that, I can expect the excitement to be there every single game, the All-Star game, if they keep this up.
So now it's time for I guess second half of the year, but it's more than halfway through it. Time for us to get to the home stretch before the playoffs. And what to you is the biggest storyline going into the post All-Star break time of the year?
Well, mine is the continued maturation of LeBron James and the New Look Cavs lineup. I've definitely said when the trade happened, I thought it would be a good thing for the Cleveland Cavaliers because they're replacing old and can't move with young and can move, which means better defense and guys that can actually get to the basket and help out. And I thought Larry Nance would be a big factor for them because he could play the 4 and the 5 position, and when they went to a small lineup, he could play the center. Which, it's almost like I was sitting in their locker or sitting in the trade talks with them because it's what they've done. So, it's interesting to watch that team and continue to watch them even when they hit a rough patch. I want to see how they react and respond. So that's the most interesting thing to me to watch. Along with Boston right now, they're kind of in a tailspin and they can't get out of it. So that ought to be interesting to watch as well.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on the Cavs. I think that's very interesting to see if they can continue these winning ways with this new squad and if their defense will improve to the point where they can be true championship contenders. Another big story that I'm looking at is the Western Conference because from seeds 3 through 10, pretty much, they're all bunched together. And the Utah Jazz, which, we thought were out of it before the All-Star break, put together an 11-game winning streak. Right under our noses, and because they're in a small market, a lot of people didn't notice, but now they're right there in the playoff hunt. You got them right there with the Clippers, who are still competing after the Blake Griffin trade. The Pelicans right there. Anthony Davis was going crazy before the All-Star break. Had a few games where he scored like 40, and they're on a winning streak. And I believe whoever gets in the playoffs and gets that sixth seed, and plays against the Spurs, who may not have a Kawhi Leonard, they could have a chance to pull upset. Now, if you get that 7 or 8 seed and you play the Warriors or the Rockets, your chances are much less. But I do think that the people fighting for those spots should try to fight for that 6th spot to get up there and maybe play against a Spurs team that in the playoffs you can center more of your attention to LaMarcus Aldridge and be able to take that away from the Spurs without Kawhi Leonard if he doesn't come back. He may still come back. So with that playoff seed in the Western Conference, what is the team that you're looking for out of that bottom bunch that you think can make some noise?
Let's see. I don't think Utah can. I don't think they're particularly ready just yet. Looking at their roster, looking at the teams, I'm just trying to think of teams. Let's see. Let me just think real quick. Sorry.
No problem. You gotta
try to put the thinking cap on.
Yeah, it's no problem. You got OKC out there.
I don't think Utah will.
Yeah.
I don't think Portland will either because Portland is still, to me, they're always a good team to make the playoffs, but they just can't do much. Denver could be a team that could make some noise. And right now, Oklahoma City is only a half game ahead of them. So, to me, if Oklahoma City slides down to that 6th seed, then they could be seriously dangerous. And they could really, really, really cause problems in the playoffs for a lot of people. Other than that, I would say, Denver or Oklahoma City would be the 2 teams.
Okay, I really like the Denver pick because once Paul Millsap comes back, that really adds another dimension to that team, more scoring, better defense. So I definitely like that Denver pick a lot. I think they can make some noise. I think that would be a great matchup. If they get the 6th seed and they play the Spurs, who are the 3 right now, and probably will keep the 3 seed, that could be a very interesting matchup in the playoffs. You mentioned OKC. I think the thing is with OKC, they seem like they're built perfect to beat the Warriors. But I don't know if they'll be able to play the Warriors the way they're stepping right now. Because the thing is, they play the Warriors great, but they struggle against the Timberwolves. And, I think the way it's set up right now, they'll play Timberwolves in the first round, that 4 or 5 matchup. They can mess around losing the first round, and then the Timberwolves will go against, the Warriors or the Rockets. The Rockets could get that top seed. And then you wouldn't have the Warriors in that matchup where you have to worry. And speaking of the top seed, do you think it's important for the Warriors to try to get that top seed, or do you think it's something that they can just let go and go ahead and let the Rockets go ahead and try to get that top seed themselves?
I think it's more important for the Rockets than it is for the Warriors. The Warriors can go anywhere and beat teams, but the Rockets, I think they would definitely need that home court advantage in the playoffs, especially with the struggles that James Harden has had on the big stage. So I would definitely say that it's more important for the Rockets than it is for the Warriors. The Warriors can go anywhere and win.
That's a very good point. You think about Chris Paul and James Harden. Both their stars have had struggles in playoff series. You think about, of course, Chris Paul had his biggest struggles against the Rockets when, they gave up that big 3-1 lead and had that big lead in Game 6 against the Rockets that year, where the Clippers looked primed to finally make a run and choked in that series. And then you think about James Harden, choking against the Spurs, or even back when he was in OKC, not showing up in the finals against the Heat. So they both have had their troubles. So hopefully together they can kind of pick up the slack for each other. Now,
I don't know, a couple, maybe two negatives can equal a positive.
Hey,
I don't know. We'll see.
Hey, we will see. Now, in the Eastern Conference, you look at the bottom of that conference, it's a little more already kind of made. You only got one team outside the top 8 that still has a chance pretty much. The Hornets aren't completely out of it, but it's going to be a hard charge for them to make that run. So pretty much you got the Pistons down there with the 76ers and the Heat all going for those last 2 spots. Do you think Blake Griffin can get the Pistons into the playoffs?
I definitely think Blake can get them in the playoffs. The problem is they don't have enough shooting around Blake. Avery Bradley is like 0 for the century. He probably could throw in the ocean right now. Stanley, is it Robinson? Robinson, I can't remember his last name. Stanley Johnson Robinson. Can't remember his last name for the life of me.
It's Johnson.
But Johnson, yeah. Stanley Johnson can't throw it in the ocean either. They really miss, crazy as it sounds, they miss Reggie Jackson right now. So, once he comes back, I definitely think that helps them. But right now, as their team looks, no, they don't have enough shooting around Blake to make it happen.
Yeah, I definitely can see that point of it. Blake's been playing great since he got there. Him and Drummond are monsters down low. And Blake has been able to, without Reggie Jackson being there, he's been kind of a point forward. And you see how good he is at being a playmaker. And if they did have that shooting around him, you see it even more. So you definitely make a good point there. I think the 76ers are starting to really find their stride. They won 5 straight before the break. Miami, they got a great coach in Spo. They have a good system. I think the Wade being back is going to add some leadership for them. I think they make the playoffs as well. So I can see the Pistons just missing out. It's hard for me to see anybody falling out that's above them. I don't see Milwaukee falling too hard, or anybody else in that top 6. So it's going to be between those 3 teams to see who gets those last 2 spots. So now let's take a hard turn, talk a little football. You mentioned that you covered the Tennessee Titans, so I definitely want to get your opinion on this. I want to talk about the AFC South and what these teams should do in free agency. So let's start with the Jacksonville Jaguars. They went 10-6 last year, made it all the way to the AFC Championship game. We're up 10 points on the New England Patriots in the 4th quarter and blew the game. Or you can say that the Patriots made a great comeback, depending on how you see it. What do you think the Jaguars need to do in the offseason, free agency-wise, to take that next step?
I think offensively they need to make sure to bring back Allen Robinson. I think Allen Robinson will be like bringing back a free agent, honestly, off the knee injury. So I think that is going to be huge if they're able to bring him back. But they have to be pretty smart in the cap because they have a lot of guys that are getting ready to come up for new deals, like a Jalen Ramsey and a Dante Fowler Jr. So definitely they have to be careful because they can get themselves in some cap hell real quick. So definitely, I would say wide receiver in terms of Allen Robinson, Blake Bortles. They're bringing him back. But, I think they maybe need to bring in maybe a competent backup. If they could go out and get a Nick Foles, trade for a Nick Foles, that would be good for them. Not saying necessarily he'd be the starter, but he'd be at least a competent backup. But that's the issue I have with them. If Blake Bortles goes down, which he's not necessarily the most steady quarterback anyway, then who do you have? I mean, and I'm scared for them if that happens because basically all they are is just a running team. And you can't depend on them to be a great running team next year because you look at the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans were Jaguars next year. So they definitely need to have more weapons in the passing game.
Yeah, I'm definitely right there with you when it comes to Jacksonville adding more weapons. And they went ahead and re-signed or brought back Mercedes Lewis. I think that was a good move. I think he had a good year last year, and he has a rapport with Blake Bortles. So now let's move on to the team that you cover, the Tennessee Titans. They went 9-7 last year, had the great, crazy comeback against Kansas City in the wild card round, but then got mollywopped against the New England Patriots in the divisional round. So what do you think Tennessee has to do to improve through free agency?
I think Tennessee actually needs a pass rusher, because if you look at Derek Morgan and you look at Brian Arapco, both of those guys don't exactly strike fear in people. Even though Morgan got, 10 sacks this year, still it was a quiet 10 sacks, and he isn't a guy that actually thrives as being the lead pass rusher. He's a guy that thrives as being the secondary guy. That's a big issue for them. Then they have to make a decision on Avery Williamson, who pretty much came up through their system, who is actually a Tennessee-born player as well. He grew up in West Tennessee. But he's coming up for free agency, now projected to make $9 million in terms of his next deal per year. But the thing is, he's limited. He can't cover on third down. Third downs, he's not a great pass linebacker. So definitely they have to make a decision there. I would definitely go get another linebacker in terms of free agency, and also look at another wide receiver, because their offense, it has been led by a tight end for the last couple of years in terms of a leading receiver. That cannot happen if you're trying to win the Super Bowl. So they definitely need a wide receiver. One of the wide receivers I wanted them to get, wanted them to at least take a look at, was Jarvis Landry, but we all saw where he got franchise tagged by the Miami Dolphins. So that pretty much eliminates him unless they want to give up pieces or picks for that. So definitely wide receiver. Because all the wide receivers are pretty much possession guys, except for Corey Davis and Taylor Taylor, which hopefully they get better this year. So that and inside linebacker and a pass rusher, and potentially a safety, I would say too.
Okay, you hear the expertise right there from somebody who covers the Titans. On a daily basis, pretty much you'll see our different articles on the Titans from him. Now let's move on to the Colts. They went 4-12 last year. Of course, didn't have Andrew Luck throughout the whole year. And we're about to get Josh McDaniels to be the coach, but then he reneged. I don't know what's worse, reneging on being the coach or reneging in spades. I think that they both can be offenses that can get you whooped on. So for the Colts at 4-12 last year, what do you think is the key for them in free agency?
Well, the key for them in free agency, they need a lot of things. They need a pass rusher. They definitely need corners. Even though I would say their corners did adequately last year, they still need one more there. As far as safety, I think they'll be okay with the guys they've got. Wide receiver-wise, I think they need to keep Dante Moncrief, because he was their most consistent wide receiver. With T.Y. Hilton kind of slumped a little bit, kind of had his ebbs and flows, but he still is a competent wide receiver. You keep those two together and you add to what you have there. Of course, tight end, I think you got a too mechanical on tight end. Right now, they need an explosive tight end, and that is definitely needed. But above all things, this team won't be any better unless Andrew Luck is healthy. If he's healthy, then this team will be better. If he's not, and he's sitting on the sideline again, and you got Jacoby Brissett in there. Nothing against Jacoby Brissett, but Andrew Luck makes up for so many deficiencies that team has, especially offensive line, which is why he's hurt to begin with, because they never invested in. That's another story. So that would be the key things for me there, and for the Colts. And of course, you never can have enough offensive line help.
Yeah, definitely. You talked about how the offensive line is something they never invested in. And you would think missing a year of Andrew Luck would make them invest in the offensive line this upcoming year. Hopefully we see that. Now, for the next team in the AFC South, we got the Houston Texans. They went 4-12. But at the beginning of the year, it did look like they had some potential with Deshaun Watson starting to hit his stride, and then he tore his ACL in practice, of all things. What do you think the Texans should do in free agency?
As far as the Texans, I think the wide receivers, I think you're pretty solid at your wide receiver. You got Fuller coming back. You got Watkins there. Let's see. Hopkins. I'm sorry. You got Hopkins there. Other than that, I would say probably need to retool the offensive line just a tinge. Get back Watson healthy. And as far as the defensive line, of course, they're definitely need to get healthy there with Watt. But you also need to bring somebody in terms of to replace him as well in terms of the draft this year. I think it's time because he's been injured 2 years in a row, and you need to find somebody to replace him or at least jump in his spot. And Whitney Merciless definitely is going to be huge coming back too. So linebacker, I would say for them, defensive line is something else you can need in terms of quality depth, either the draft or free agency. And I would say the quarterback position also, because Jonathan Joseph, I believe, is a free agent. So you may want to get younger at that position, and now it's time.
Okay, thank you for your expertise on that. And now it's time for us to have a little fun. Do this with every guest. We do a little sports trivia. This is where I challenge the guests on their favorite teams. I also challenge people listening. You can play along as well. And this is where I just do a little research and try to come up with some tough questions because I know that the people I have on the show are very knowledgeable. So I try to dig into the crate a little bit and get some questions for you guys, make you think a little bit. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, for the first question, who holds the record for rushing yards in a single season for the San Francisco 49ers? Is it Frank Gore, Garrison Hearst, Roger Craig, or Wendell Tyler? Let me give it to you one more time. Who holds the record for rushing yards in a single season for the San Francisco 49ers? Is it Frank Gore, Garrison Hearst, Roger Craig, or Wendell Tyler?
I'm guessing that here, I believe it was Garrison Hearst, especially the year we had where he had that long run against the New York Jets.
Very good guess, but incorrect. The correct answer is Frank Gore. Frank.
I should have went with Reliable. I should have went Reliable.
Yes, Frank Gore is definitely reliable, still out here in the league doing his thing. In 2006, he ran for 1,695 yards, had 5.4 yards per carry that season, and 8 rushing touchdowns. So he definitely balled out that year. For question number 2, who holds the record for passing yards in a single season for the 49ers? Is it Alex Smith, Steve Young, Jeff Garcia, or Joe Montana? Let me give it to you one more time. Who holds the record for passing yards in a single season for the 49ers? Alex Smith, Steve Young, Jeff Garcia, or Joe Montana?
I'll tell you what, a lot of 49ers fans are probably going to rip me because, honestly, I don't keep up with those records very much. I keep up with more just what the team's doing and moves and things like that. But I'm going to go with Steve Young on this one.
That's a very good guess. He does own a lot of records
and
for
I'm incorrect, probably, right?
It is incorrect.
Oh, boy.
Yes, the guy who holds the record is Jeff Garcia. Yes, Jeff Garcia in the year 2000 threw for 4,278 yards. He had 31 touchdowns and 10 interceptions that year.
I think every 49er fan will miss that one.
Yeah, that's a tough one. You definitely wouldn't expect Jeff Garcia to have that record. So
right.
Let's do a little basketball for the next 2 questions. So for question number 3, Michael Jordan, of course, is first all-time in points per game for the Chicago Bulls with 31.5 during his time there with the Bulls. Who is second all-time in points per game for the Chicago Bulls? Is it Elton Brand, Scottie Pippen, Derrick Rose, or Jalen Rose? I'll give it to you one more time. Michael Jordan is first all-time in points per game for the Chicago Bulls with 31.5. Who is second all-time? Is it Elton Brand, Scottie Pippen, Derrick Rose, or Jalen Rose?
You mean just in point per game average or just points in general?
Points per game.
Okay. Let's see. As far as points per game average, can't say Derrick Rose. I'm going to go with Scotty.
Very good guess. But that's one
wrong again.
Yes, it is incorrect. Second all-time second all-time in points per game for the Bulls is Jalen Rose. Yes, Jalen Rose.
Oh, my goodness.
During his time with the Bulls from 01 to 04, averaged 21.4 points per game.
Man, I wanted to forget those years because, I forgot. I wanted to forget Jalen Rose was on the Bulls team.
those were some rough years. The Baby Bull years were pretty rough. But Jalen Rose, he was the main guy at that time for you guys. All right. Now, question number 4. Steve Kerr has the highest 3-point field goal percentage for the Bulls with 48%. Who is second all-time in field goal percentage for the Chicago Bulls? Or 3-point field goal percentage, excuse me. Is it Craig Hodges, B.J. Armstrong, Kyle Korver, or Ben Gordon? Let me give it to you one more time. Steve Kerr has the highest...
Hodges.
Very good guess, but it's incorrect. Craig Hodges...
The sniper? The sniper ain't second?
No, he was not second. Second all-time is B.J. Armstrong. B.J. Armstrong from 1980.
Corner threes.
Yeah, a lot of corner threes. B.J. Armstrong from 1989 to 1995 shot 43.7% from three-point line.
Well, he definitely, people listening definitely know one thing. Sports trivia ain't my game, but I know the game.
That's a very good line. I like that right there. I like that. All right, so let me just recap the questions for the people. Who holds the record for rushing yards in a single season for the San Francisco 49ers? It is Frank Gore, who in 2006 ran for 1,695 yards. Question number 2, who holds the record for passing yards in a single season for the 49ers? And surprisingly, it's Jeff Garcia, who had 4,278 yards in the year 2000. Question number 3, who is second all-time in points per game for the Chicago Bulls? Of course, Michael Jordan is first. It is Jalen Rose, who had 21.4 points per game from 2001 to 2004. And question number 4 is, who is second all-time in three-point field goal percentage for the Chicago Bulls? Of course, Steve Kerr is first. It's B.J. Armstrong, who shot 43.7% from 1989 to 1995. So I want to thank you for being a good sport during sports trivia. And now
I need a recap. I need a recap and a redo. No, I'm joking, man. I'm joking. It's all fun.
Definitely. Always having a good time. And now it's time for us to do Forgotten Players. Forgotten Players is where we pay homage to players who may have been good but not great but not recognized, or players who you have just forgotten about who we want to remind you of. So who is your forgotten player today, Mike?
At 6'4" and 215 from Rice University, Ricky Pierce.
Oh, that's a good forgotten player right there.
Yeah, he played 16 years in the NBA with the Detroit Pistons, Milwaukee Bucks, Seattle Supersonics, Golden State Warriors 1 year, the Pacers, Charlotte, Denver, and Milwaukee again. And he averaged 14.9 points per game for his entire, of course, career. The great thing about him, he wasn't a guy that shot a lot of threes. For his career, he never averaged 1 3 a game. He basically was the guy that had the art of the mid range on lock. And he averaged 14.9 points a game, just shooting mid range jump shots the entire game.
Wow. Now that's a really good pick right there. Ricky Pierce, like you said, somebody who the art of the mid range. Somebody when you see a DeMar DeRozan, somebody like that, may not have, of course, not as athletic as that guy, but somebody who has that mid-range down, Rip Hamilton, those type of guys, it's something that's lost, man. And it's something that should be appreciated. Now, for my forgotten player, I definitely went back with this one. This guy's a Hall of Famer, but I feel like he's been forgotten over time a little bit. And my forgotten player is Artis Gilmore.
Oh, man.
Artis
making catches, daddy.
Yes. Artis Gilmore was a 7'2" center, left-handed. He was a 7th round pick. So to let you know how long ago this was. He was a 7th round pick for the Chicago Bulls in the 1971 draft out of Jacksonville University, but played in the ABA for the Kentucky Colonels for the first 5 seasons of his career. He averaged 22.3 points per game while in the ABA on 56% shooting. He made the All-Star game all 5 seasons in the ABA and then went to the NBA for 12 seasons, spending time with the Bulls, Spurs, and Celtics. He made the All-Star game 6 more times in the NBA. And for his entire career, if you combine NBA and ABA, he averaged 18.3 points per game, also with 12.3 rebounds per game. Somebody who was a good rim protector, skilled around the rim. Go watch you some Artis Gilmore tapes, man. Somebody who definitely had skills at 7'2", Basketball Hall of Famer in 2011. So a big shout out to Ricky Pierce and Artis Gilmore as our forgotten players today. So I want to thank you, Mike, for coming on the show, man. I hope you had a good time.
Definitely, man. I enjoyed myself, man. Put my feet on the couch and relaxed.
Definitely. That's what the show is, man. It's a good, relaxing sports talk. It's real sports talk for the real sports fan. And one more time, man, where can people find you on social media, and where can they find your wonderful articles?
You can find me on Twitter at General_MP. Of course, the Sports Awakening has its own entity as well. It's at Sports Awakening. And, of course, you can find me on, on Facebook. Of course, Sports Awakening is on there. I didn't mention Instagram. Yeah, you can definitely find Sports Awakening on Instagram as well. As far as, any websites you can find me, ProPlayerInsiders.com. You can find me at TitansWire.com, which I just dropped something new on a potential free agent to potentially Titans need to look at, which will be Sheldon Richardson. And you can also find my work on SportsAwakening.com.
My man is out here working. Like, you can tell he working, man, because he listed so many things. He's out here putting in work, and I appreciate that. And there's one question I forgot to ask you, man, that I want to go ahead and ask you. You started a group on Facebook called Dream Chasers. Why did you start this group? What inspired you to do that?
2018 has been a great year for me personally. I got to cover the Super Bowl, which is a bucket list thing for me. And I got to see a lot of people working together and talking to people and, trying to do the best they could to try to help each other in media, which I talked about earlier. So to me, what I wanted to do is I wanted to bring a lot of people together and wanted them to, talk about what their goals are and what their dreams are and what they're trying to do in 2018. But not only have them talk about that, to have other people around to share information with them, to give them guidance, to help, and also for us to all be accountable to each other so that way we can reach those dreams and, get that encouragement and, that kick in the butt when we need it, things like that. So that is why I formed the group, and, that is the main mission of it, is to try to help everyone live a good life, which is, if those don't know and don't listen to Kanye, that's the getting out our dreams life.
Definitely. A good life is just doing what you love. Like right now, I'm living a good life, being able to interview people like you and talk sports and just have a good time doing it, and just continue to do this to where we can make this our full-time gigs. So I definitely appreciate you for being somebody who inspires me to work harder and starting groups like Dream Chasers and checking in on people like myself, making sure that we stay on track when it comes to chasing our dreams. I really appreciate that. I want to thank everybody for listening to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. Don't forget to follow me everywhere at The Real Deal WDA. That's, like I said, everywhere. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snap. The Real Deal WDA. That's W as in whiskey, D as in Delta, A as in Alpha. And until next time, go real or go home.